Hello friends. Today, we are going to talk about an important development in Africa that has caught the attention of many around the world. Botswana, a peaceful and stable country in southern Africa, has recently joined a military alliance led by Ibrahim Traoré, the interim president of Burkina Faso. This move has caused serious concern for the United States. But why is this happening? And what does it mean for Africa and the world? Let's find out. Ibrahim Traoré came to power in Burkina Faso after a military coup. Though some countries have not accepted his government officially, Traoré has been focused on fighting terrorism and bringing security to his country. Burkina Faso faces many challenges because of extremist groups operating in the region. To deal with this, Traoré has been trying to form a strong alliance with other African countries. This alliance aims to work together to fight terrorism and improve peace in West Africa. Botswana joining this alliance is a big step. Botswana is known for its stable government and peaceful politics. It has never been involved in military conflicts and usually focuses on diplomacy and development. So, its decision to join Traoré's military alliance shows that African countries are starting to work together more seriously to face common problems. This is a sign of growing unity and strength in Africa. However, the United States is worried about this new alliance. The U.S. has been a key partner for many African countries for decades. It supports governments that follow democratic rules and often provides military and financial help to keep peace and stability. Since Traoré took power through a coup, the U.S. has not recognized his government officially. Now, Botswana's decision to join his alliance suggests that some African countries are willing to take their own path, even if it means moving away from U.S. influence. This worries the U.S. because it may lose its influence in Africa. The U.S. has spent a lot of time and resources building partnerships on the continent. But African countries are now showing they want to make decisions based on their own interests. They do not want to be controlled by foreign powers. This is a natural and important step for Africa's independence. There is also a bigger picture here. Other global powers like China and Russia are increasing their presence in Africa. They offer investments, military support, and new partnerships. The U.S. sees this as competition. Traoré's alliance, supported by countries like Botswana, could be seen as a shift away from traditional Western influence toward a more independent Africa. But building a strong alliance is not easy. African countries face many challenges, like different political interests, limited resources, and old rivalries. Fighting terrorism requires coordination, training, and trust. Botswana and other members of the alliance must work very hard to overcome these difficulties. Success will mean more peace and security in the region. Failure could cause more instability. Despite the challenges, this alliance is a hopeful sign. It shows that African countries are ready to take control of their future. They want to protect their people and solve problems together. This unity can bring new strength to the continent. In the end, Botswana joining Ibrahim Traoré's military alliance is a story of change and hope. It shows that Africa is moving toward a future where it can stand on its own feet. The U.S. and other world powers must respect this change and find new ways to work with African countries. Now, let's talk about what this new alliance means for the people living in these countries. Many people in West Africa and other parts of Africa have suffered a lot because of terrorism and violence. Groups like Boko Haram and other extremist organizations have caused fear, destroyed villages, and stopped children from going to school. The governments in these countries are trying hard to protect their citizens, but it is not easy. That is why cooperation and strong alliances are very important. By joining forces, countries like Botswana and Burkina Faso hope to share resources, training, and intelligence. This teamwork can help them fight better against the terrorists. Botswana's decision to join the alliance shows its willingness to play a bigger role in African security. This is new for Botswana because it has mostly stayed out of military conflicts. Now, it wants to contribute to peace and stability in the region. But what about the United States? The U.S. has always been interested in keeping Africa safe, especially because terrorism in Africa can affect the whole world. America has supported many African countries with money, training, and equipment to fight terrorism. So why is the U.S. unhappy about Botswana joining Traoré's alliance? One reason is that the U.S. does not trust governments that come to power through military coups. The U.S. prefers leaders who are elected democratically. Since Traoré came to power by force, the U.S. worries that supporting him might encourage more military takeovers in Africa. This could make the continent less stable, not more. Also, the U.S. has its own interests in Africa. It wants to keep good relationships with African countries to protect trade, investments, and political influence. When countries form new alliances without including the U.S., it feels like it is losing power and control. This worries U.S. leaders. But it is important to understand that Africa is changing. African countries want to decide their own future. They want to solve their own problems without always depending on outside help. This is a sign of growing confidence and independence. Another important point is the role of other global powers in Africa. China and Russia have been increasing their presence on the continent by offering new investments, building infrastructure, and sometimes giving military support. This is changing the balance of power. The U.S. sees this as competition and is trying to keep its position. Ibrahim Traoré's alliance and Botswana's joining can be seen as part of this bigger global shift. African countries are exploring new partnerships and ways to protect their interests. Looking ahead, the success of this alliance will depend on many things. Cooperation between the countries must be strong. They will need to solve disagreements peacefully and focus on common goals. Fighting terrorism requires patience, good planning, and support from the people. If the alliance works well, it could bring more peace and stability to Africa. This would allow more development, better education, and improved living conditions. People will feel safer, and economies can grow. However, if the alliance faces problems or fails to work together, it could lead to more conflicts. This would harm the people who are already suffering. In conclusion, Botswana joining Ibrahim Traoré's military alliance is a major event in African politics. It shows the continent's desire for unity and self-reliance. At the same time, it challenges traditional powers like the United States and changes the global political landscape. Africa is moving forward, and the world must watch carefully. It is a story of hope, struggle, and change. To understand this story better, we need to look more closely at Burkina Faso and Ibrahim Traoré's role. Burkina Faso is a country in West Africa that has faced many problems over the past years. Terrorist groups from neighboring countries have entered Burkina Faso and caused great harm. Villages have been attacked, many innocent people have lost their lives, and thousands have been forced to leave their homes. The government has struggled to control the situation. When Ibrahim Traoré came to power through a military coup, many were unsure what would happen next. Would he bring more violence, or could he be the leader to bring peace? Traoré promised to fight terrorism with full force. His military background made people hopeful that he could lead a strong fight against extremist groups. But it is not easy to fight terrorism alone. That is why Traoré has worked to build alliances with other African countries. He understands that terrorism is a regional problem. If one country fights, but its neighbors do not help, the problem will continue. Botswana's decision to join this alliance is very important because Botswana has not faced the same level of terrorism as Burkina Faso. Botswana has been one of Africa's most peaceful countries for many years. It has a stable government, a growing economy, and strong democratic institutions. So, Botswana joining a military alliance led by a country ruled by a military government is a big shift. This shows that Botswana is willing to put aside its usual policies and join hands with others to fight a bigger threat. It also shows trust in Traoré's leadership and vision. Botswana's participation adds strength and credibility to the alliance. Now, let's talk about the United States and why this change worries them. The U.S. has long been a powerful friend and partner to many African nations. America's aid programs, military training, and diplomatic support have helped many countries fight terrorism and improve their governments. The U.S. prefers working with democratically elected leaders. It often condemns military coups because coups can lead to chaos and harm democratic progress. Since Traoré took power by force, the U.S. has been hesitant to recognize his government. It has also placed sanctions and reduced aid to Burkina Faso. The U.S. fears that accepting military leaders who come to power this way might encourage others to do the same. This could create a dangerous pattern in Africa. So, when Botswana joins Traoré's alliance, the U.S. feels sidelined. It worries that this alliance may grow stronger and push aside U.S. influence. The U.S. also sees this as a challenge to the rules and values it supports in Africa. There is also a larger story here about global power. In recent years, China and Russia have become more active in Africa. They invest in infrastructure, offer loans, and build military ties. Some African countries appreciate the new opportunities these powers bring. The U.S. sees this as a competition for influence. Traoré's alliance and Botswana's joining can be seen as part of this changing world. African countries are exploring new ways to work together and to connect with different global powers. This is a sign that Africa wants more independence and a stronger voice on the world stage. However, building a successful military alliance is not simple. African countries face many challenges like political differences, lack of resources, and historical rivalries. To fight terrorism effectively, countries must share information quickly, train soldiers well, and support each other fully. Botswana, with its strong democratic values, will have to work hard to balance its peaceful policies with military cooperation. Traoré's government must also prove that it can lead the alliance honestly and effectively. The people of Burkina Faso and other member countries will be watching closely. If the alliance succeeds, it could bring more peace, stability, and development to the region. Terrorist groups could be pushed out, and communities could rebuild. Education and business could grow. This would be a big win for Africa. But if the alliance struggles, it could lead to more problems. Without trust and cooperation, the terrorist threat may get worse. Countries might fight among themselves, weakening the region's security. In summary, Botswana joining Ibrahim Traoré's military alliance marks a new chapter in African politics. It reflects a growing desire for unity and self-determination. It also challenges traditional power dynamics with countries like the United States. Africa is changing, and its future is being shaped by Africans themselves. This is a story of hope, courage, and transformation. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel to stay updated on African news and global affairs. We appreciate your support. Until next time, stay safe and stay informed.